What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update with you. And as a new era goes, as an old era goes, a new era comes in. The Ange Postecoglou has named his new captain for the season, and it is Heung-min Son. Ornstein says that Sonny appointed Tottenham captain, Romero and Maddison assistants. Decision by Postecoglou and the club, which is well received by the squad. Trio seen as characters and players to bring improved spirit and progress into the new era. Quotes from Son. Son says, "It's such a big honour to captain this huge club. It was a big surprise and very proud moment. I've already said to the players that everyone should feel like a captain on and off the pitch. It's a new season, a fresh start, and I'll give everything for the shirt and this armband." And Ange Postecoglou says that Sonny has great leadership qualities both on and off the pitch, and it's an ideal choice to become our new captain. Everyone knows he's a world-class player, and he has enormous respect for everyone in the dressing room. He transcends the group with the squad. That's not just because he's popular, it's because of what he's achieved in the game, both here and as captain for South Korea. And we were speaking about this last week. We both said Sonny should be the new captain of the squad. I'm really happy that he has been named as captain. And with Romero and Maddison as assistants, it's a brand new kind of leadership team at this squad now. And I imagine Bissouma should be in and around that leadership group as well. And, you brought up a good point on Twitter about Eric Dyer unfollowing the social media accounts and stuff like that. I wonder if it does have anything to do with it. But first and foremost, what's your reaction on Sonny as captain?
I think it's a good appointment. I remember we were talking at the end of last season. We were thinking, who could be captain if Kane leaves? And I said, I reckon it'll be Heung-min Son if Kane was ever to leave, because I just think he is captain of South Korea. He knows how to handle that kind of responsibility. In my opinion, I think he's a really popular figure in the dressing room. He's always positive. He's always smiling, and I think he will command the respect. I think, and now maybe I'll be interested to see if we do maybe see a different side to Sonny now that he has been given an armband, that more leadership ability, trying to kind of motivate kind of his teammates and that kind of qualities, because I think he's maybe, because Lloris and Kane, there's been more senior players there, I feel like maybe he's taken a back seat when it comes to those kind of responsibilities. But now he is the captain, and now that has been bestowed upon him. I reckon you're going to see Son. I reckon we might see a more competitive side to Sonny, a different side to Sonny, which we haven't seen before. And I think he's the perfect appointment. In terms of Maddison and Romero, I think Romero is a clever bit of management from Postecoglou, because as similar to Son, I reckon Romero could do with that extra bit of responsibility as well. Because I feel like, he's young, exuberant, aggressive, and he does stupid things. But maybe when he has that added bit of responsibility of being the part of the leadership group, where now people look up to him, he's not just a centre back where he's just part of the team. He's now one of the leaders in the team. So I think he might think twice when he's going in for a stupid challenge, or when he got sent off against AC Milan, those kind of things. Maybe he's going to curb that kind of thing. Now that he's got that responsibility. And I think Maddison, Ange was saying when he signed him, him being a leader was one of the things he saw in Maddison, before he brought him in. And now we're seeing that, he's kind of put his money where his mouth is. He's not just saying it just to say it. He's really believes that this guy is going to be someone to look up to for the rest of the team. And he's in a weird way, even though he's only 26, we have a young squad now with Kane going, Lloris out the door. How many players, apart from Son and Perisic, there's not too many players, are there, that are like over 30? There's Forster as well. So the rest are quite youngsters. So at 26, Maddison becomes automatically a senior player in the squad. So I think that's a very smart appointment as well. And I think I'm delighted. I think Postecoglou has made some really good choices. And I think that I think it's what's needed. We needed that hard reset. If we're going to go to a new era, I think it's right we also go in with a new leadership group as well. And it gives new voices in that motivational huddle when we're trying to G each other up. And I think it's good for Tottenham.
I think in terms of Sonny, he's a player that leads by example all the time, ultimate professional, Heung-min Son. And he's a player that every player in the squad looks up to. No two ways about it. So whether he takes on that kind of orthodox leadership role on the pitch, I'm not too sure. But I think when you're backed up by players like Maddison and Cuti Romero, who can kind of take up that orthodox leadership role where you're shouting and commanding, kind of shouting at each and every player and organizing everything like that. I think it's a really good mix, to be honest. And I'm really happy Son has been given the armband. And in terms of Cuti Romero, when you're actually thinking about it and looking at maybe the first 11 that we're going to start more or less next season, you're looking at Vicario in goal, Emerson right back, left back Udogi, centre backs Van der Ven and Romero, with centre midfields Bissouma, Lo Celso potentially, and who else in central, and Madison. Up front, Richarlison, Kulusevski, and Heung-min Son. Romero is actually one of the players that've been there the longest, crazy enough.
Yeah, true, because he came in 2021, which is hard. So I think it goes to show how much has changed in the squad within the last 2 years and how much of a refresh we are having. So, yeah, it's a good point. He is all of a sudden one of the more long-standing players in the team.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a good group. I do imagine Bissouma will be in and around that kind of group as well. But what do you make out of the reports? Well, not reports. That Eric Dyer's unfollowed Spurs on social media, removed Spurs from his bios. Do you think it is to do with this captaincy?
I mean, it's a major coincidence if it isn't, I would say, in my opinion. I think that's an indication that he feels disrespected, I would say. Obviously, we're reading, look, this is wild speculation. There's no information that I'm saying. This is just how I'm looking at the situation objectively. I'm trying to piece together what's going on. If he's been at the club since 2014, he's been known for a while as one of the leaders in the dressing room. He's been kind of credited by a lot of different managers for his leadership ability. He basically, although there were rumours at the end of the season that Tottenham might want to ship him out, he said he's knuckling down. He wants to prove himself under Ange. He's staying because he really believes in the Tottenham project. And, you got to remember, Mourinho, he was the starting centre-back. Conte, he was the starting centre-back. So he's been actually, in a weird way, even though we all want him out, he's been a constant in the team for a number of years now, even though there was a...
That's a problem, though. That's one.
No, no, it's a problem. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just laying out the
I get it.
So even though there was that spell under Poch near the end of his era where he was out the team a lot, since Mourinho and all that for the large part of the last few years, he's been a constant in the team. Now, when the kind of role of captaincy comes up, because Kane's leaving and Lloris, and he was part of the leadership group as well under Conte, when that role comes up, he'll be an obvious candidate. And he would probably feel like he has the respect of the dressing room. He's been part of the furniture for a very long time. So I think he probably felt like it was a given. He'd probably be in that leadership role and at least be a vice captain. Maybe he didn't feel like he'd be a captain, but for sure a vice captain you'd feel because of that, all of those things. And to not even be in the leadership group, that is a massive indication for me that not only does Ange not trust him on the pitch, in my opinion, but Ange doesn't even trust him to be like a main voice in the dressing room. And that must be a bit of a kick in the gut, I would say, for Eric Dyer. And given that, I wouldn't be surprised if he looks for a move now in the next few weeks, if that's the case.
I think that would be music to all our ears, to be honest. But surely he should have seen this coming when, he hasn't been offered a contract. There's no contract on the table and he's got a year left in his deal. So can he realistically think that he can be named a vice or a captain with only 1 year left in his deal?
I think so, because he probably feels like whether he does or not, if you've been at the club as long as someone like Eric Dyer and you've been starting for the number of years and you've been a leader in the dressing room for the last number of years, if you would, even though you've only got a year left, he probably acknowledges, he hasn't been at his best on the pitch the last year. So he knows he probably has to prove himself. But by the by, he'd still feel like he's one of the main voices in the dressing room. He gets respect. And for that to basically be put into doubt by this decision, in my opinion, I think that is more than anything going to hurt him rather than because I think all players know when they're playing well or not, and they understand those kind of situations. But when it comes to leadership and respect of your fellow teammates and that kind of stuff, I think that's a different kind of conversation. And I feel like for example, Lascelles at Newcastle, he doesn't play at all, right? He barely plays, yet he's still a captain. He's still, even though they've completely outgrown him, he's still one of the leaders in the dressing room and he feels that respect. Whereas but like someone like Dyer, he probably felt like he had that, but this is maybe undermining the decision of Postecoglou to say you're not in my leadership group, you're not one of the captains. That may be undermining his perception of himself that he's one of the leaders in the dressing room, and that must really hurt considering he's been here for nearly 10 years now. And he felt like he was probably going to be the captain, I reckon, or vice captain. And the fact that he hasn't been given it must hurt. So I think for me, if I'm putting myself in Dyer's shoes, if he feels that way, I reckon he's probably right to push for a move now, and because he surely you're not going anywhere at this point. You know what I mean? He probably felt like, oh, if I can somehow get into Ange's team and they're starting to play well, maybe I can force my way back in the team and stuff. But I think this decision more than anything is going to be an indication that he's got no future here.
And if he does push for a move this summer, I mean, that would be absolutely music to all our ears, because we all thought we had to endure one last season of Eric Dyer. And I think when you're looking at the centre-backs that are potentially going out the door, if you add Dyer to that list, Dyer, Sanchez and Japhet Tanganga, me personally, I want Dyer to be the first one out the door out of all those three. So if he does push for a move now, I think he still can get a move to maybe like a lower Premier League team, maybe a team in the bottom half. And but get rid of him for 5 million, something like that, get him off the books and start proper rejuvenating that centre-back slot for the whole squad, not just the starting 11.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that a lot of the Tottenham fans don't want to see the back of Dyer at this point. I don't think, especially now, how we want to play with the high line, it's just not going to be conducive to how Dyer plays, and that's the reality. So I think it's best for everyone, especially with this news, that it cuts ties. I think Dyer will motivate him more to move. I think he was willing to stay because of the Ange project. But I think this decision will make him rethink that decision.
It's actually an interesting one because obviously there was no rumours of him leaving right this summer, but there has been rumours and bids for Davinson Sanchez, but nothing's happened with him so far. And I think Davinson Sanchez is much more suited, as much as he's not good enough, he's much more suited to play an Ange system than Eric Dyer is. So maybe the focus changes and maybe we do keep Sanchez for another year and ship out Dyer instead.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I would have, if you asked me this at the end of last season, who I'd rather have kept, I would have said Dyer for those reasons. I feel like he's a good influence in the dressing room. But if he's lost that impact and now the manager's saying, I don't even want him as one of my captains, then I don't think there's any point having him around.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's move on. Let's talk about some potential incomings. Starting off with Gift Orban, as Sasha Tabaleri says that talks are ongoing between Tottenham and Ghent through intermediaries for Gift Orban. Spurs already offered orally about 27 million euros. As of now, the Belgian officials want to increase the price to 30 million euros plus add-ons, and written offer should come next week in order to move closer to an agreement. And Charlie Eccleshare says the sense at Spurs is that Gift Orban could be attainable for 20 million plus add-ons. That's pounds, by the way, if they decide to make a move. So hopefully we can get this guy in over the next week.
Yeah, Paul O'Keefe said, though, that they put the price up that he's claiming. They want 40 million euros now. So it doesn't surprise me. We're going to have to live with that, with the fact that we haven't, got some of the targets before Kane left, essentially. So we've now given the selling clubs the opportunity to say, look, we know that you've sold your best player and you've got all this money, and as well you're a bit more desperate now because you sold him. So you're willing to look. Levy will do the same. We know that if Levy was in the same position, he'll put the price up. Apparently while Kane was on the bloody plane to Munich, he was trying to renegotiate a better price, for God's sake. So so it doesn't surprise me that now clubs would be turning around getting to ask for money. I think if we've identified Orban as a player who could realistically fill in that striking position in the squad, and we actually believe in his quality, and we've seen his goal scoring in Belgium and been convinced by it. I think even if it's 40 million euros, no, we always say, look, I know it's like we sound like parrots. We always say just pay the money, but you can't afford to miss out on these targets if you've identified them for the sake of a few million. And I reckon we'll get it done. And I reckon they won't. I reckon they'll they'll compromise. I don't think they'll be stubborn on 40 million euros, but I think as a negotiating tactic, it's probably a good one from their point of view.
Yeah, as I've said many a time, I'd love to get this player in. I think he'd fit the exact way Ange Postecoglou loves to play. But there is obviously caveats to the deal, as he hasn't had long in European football, and that European football has been the Belgian league of all leagues. So he's never played at a top level. So I guess it's one that you probably have to bide your time with again, right?
You'd have to be a bit patient with him, but the thing is, we've got Richarlison. Well, he's going to be our number 9, so it doesn't. We don't bring him in with the pressure of replacing Kane. In my opinion, he's coming in as to supplement Richarlison, and hopefully, in from his point of view, win his place over time. He's not going to come in and be the number 1 striker. So I think it's the perfect kind of if you're going to sign that kind of striker, it's the perfect kind of thing. If you're signing him for like if you're for example, if we sign like Rasmus Højlund for 70 million or something, then that's a different case. All of a sudden, he would probably come with that expectation of replacing Kane for that kind of fee, and all of a sudden, all the comparisons. But Orban is like it's a relatively cheap fee. He comes in as a substitute to Richarlison, and the pressure won't be as bad. And it'll almost be like I don't think he'll have that much pressure on him if he came in that sense.
To be honest, I like the idea more of signing a gift Orban than actually signing someone that you're basically telling with a massive transfer fee that you're going to come in and replace Kane. Because ultimately, the weight on someone's shoulders to replace Kane, I think that's too much to bear, to be honest, because you can't replace Kane. It's just impossible to replace Kane because of what he's given us, in everything he's given us. The most perfect number 9 and the most perfect number 10 that anyone can pretty much ask for. And to see him bloody play for Bayern Munich tonight in a cup final is going to absolutely do my head in.
It's going to be the most Spursy thing. He's going to have his first day at Munich. He's going to win the trophy. That's what's going to happen. It's going to create all sorts of memes. So get ready for it.
To be honest, if we don't call the Community Shield a trophy, can we call this a trophy?
I don't call it a trophy, but at the end of the day, it counts as a trophy. Like it counts as like I don't think it's. I'm not saying it's like anything impressive, but at the end of the day, it is a trophy. Like it's a trophy. He's won a trophy.
Yeah, so he'll start the season with 2 trophies: 1 Tiger Cup and 1 Super Cup in Germany.
I'm saying if you go on Wikipedia on Kane now, it'll say 0 trophies, and then you go tomorrow if they've won it, he'll have 1 trophy. He'll have it to his name, and that's factual.
Yeah. All right, next up, Brennan Johnson. Charlie Eccles says that Forest's Brennan Johnson is another player Spurs like. Though he would predominantly be bought to compete with Kulusevski for a spot on the right wing. Tottenham consider this a bit of a gap in their squad, and so may well have pursued the deal even if Kane would have stayed. So I like that as a Brennan Johnson deal a lot more than maybe bringing, because I thought when they were talking about bringing him in, they were talking about, using him up front, because he played up front for Nottingham Forest today. He missed a sitter, by the way, in that game.
Yeah.
And I really like him on the right wing as a competition for Kulusevski. I
think he's versatile. I think he's good on the right. I don't know. I don't think he's like an amazing winger. I think if he's going to have a future in the Premier League, in my opinion, it's probably going to be as a striker. I think that's probably his best position. But right now, I don't think he's prolific enough to take our striking position, but he's good enough to maybe be backup striker and probably good enough to be backup winger. So I think he's good to cover both positions. But for 50 million to have to see him as backup is quite an outlay. But I think his versatility is his biggest asset. I think, and I think he would be good cover. I like him. I do think he's a good player.
I wonder if Nottingham Forest would be interested in someone like Eric Dyer. I'll bet you they would. Maybe there's something to do there.
Yeah, maybe.
Who do they play
I don't think it knocks off too much money off the price, but
true. But who do they play there at centre back Nottingham Forest?
They had Willy Bolly.
Felipe.
They had Willy Bolly today. They had Woodrow, or not Woodrow. What's his name?
Is it Felipe they have at the back?
They have played him as well. I don't think he played today. No, they played 3 at the back today, didn't they? I can't remember who it was. There was like
either way. I mean, I think Eric Dyer does get into that back 3.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of teams in the bottom half he gets into, in my opinion.
They played Bolly, McKenna, and Worrell today.
Worrell, that's it, Worrell.
And
they get in there. Will he be willing to go to Forest?
We should be the sporting directors of Spurs. We know exactly which teams will take which players. But I think it's a good fit, to be honest.
Just a quick one while we're talking about the striking positions as well. I don't know if you're going to touch on it later, but Ange saying that he reckons Sonny can play up front in the number 9, which is quite interesting. So we'll have to wait and see kind of if he does use him there, how often he does. But I thought that was quite an interesting thing he said.
But I mean, personally, I think I've been saying it a lot this summer. I think he's more suited in this system in the number 9 than he is out wide, to be honest.
But with him being our captain, do we think, like, if it's not working for him on the left, do you reckon he drops Richarlison and plays him 9?
It depends how well Richarlison's doing. because I think it all depends on the team. And I don't think just because he's captain, it means that he should, no matter what, be picked every single game. I think it should still be, if you're not playing well, then you shouldn't be in the team, to be honest. And look, I think with Sonny, you're always probably going to give him more chances than maybe a Richarlison because of the quality that we have seen from him in the past. But I wouldn't say that, just because he's not playing well on the left, he'll go straight through the middle, but there is a chance of it.
It'd be interesting to see if that was eventuality. If Richarlison's playing well, it's not working for Son on the left, like what he does. Because if he thinks he can play striker, would he decide to bench his captain rather than try him in the centre, or would he drop Richarlison? It'll create a bit of a problem.
I think different games are going to need different solutions, and I think Ange is really good at that kind of thing. So maybe they'll just share the role, to be honest. And with 5 subs, I think Ange really utilizes his subs really well. They'll get enough game time, the both of them, even if they do share the number 9 role, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I reckon if we play like really good teams like Man City and stuff like that, put Son in the 9, I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree. But another number 9 that we're going to be talking about today is Ivan Toney. As Charlie Extra says, a move for Ivan Toney in January is an option being considered by Spurs when his ban ends. I mean, if you're going to get him, you may as well just get him now. So he's ready to go by January, and he'll get to know the squad and everything like that. And maybe you can knock off a few pounds as well if you do get him now. But I mean, I can't see us getting a gift Orban and an Ivan Toney in January.
No. So it's one or the other. I don't think we go for both. I think Ivan Toney is going to be expensive. I don't see Tottenham buying him now unless we kind of buy him now, kind of signed a pre-contract kind of thing. Buy him now and it only goes valid in January or something like that. I just can't see Levy signing off on 6 months' wages for a player who's not going to be able to play for 6 months. I just can't see it.
Yeah, agreed.
Unless the only way we do that is if we are going to get a cut price fee for signing him this summer, and I don't think we will. I don't see Brentford saying, "Oh, because he's not available for 6 months, we're going to give you money off." I don't think so. They're going to see like in 6 months' time he's back, so the value is going to be retained.
But the thing is, I don't see us not signing a player in the attacking positions this summer. I mean, I 100% see us, and I don't see us waiting for January. And if we do wait for January, I mean, in the summer, he's going to have a year left in his contract, so they'll probably end up waiting until the end of the season if they're going to go and try and get Ivan Toney.
Maybe. I think it depends how desperate they are. I think if it comes January and we didn't get anyone this summer, I think we'll do it. I think we'll do the deal.
And also, like, I can see a situation where maybe Richarlison does have a similar season to last season, and we try and get rid of Richarlison in the summer and maybe then replace Richarlison with Ivan Toney next summer.
Yeah, that's also possible. I mean, it's so hard to say at the moment what's going to happen, but I think I would love Ivan Toney. I think he's a brilliant striker. I think as well, Ange could get him to a really good level. In a way, he's more similar to, like, say, a Kane than Richarlison is, because his build-up play is really good. I think he's got a really good passing range. He's obviously a very good penalty box striker, penalty taker as well, which was up for debate who's going to be penalties now. So that issue. That solves that issue, though, if Tony's there.
Pedro Porro was on penalties at Sporting Lisbon.
True. He seemed to be quite good at them as well. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting I think we'd rather go for Orban for a cheaper deal. It seems so. But I think if Orban's really for some reason not attainable, would you rather like pay over the odds, like 40 million euros for Orban, or like drop 50 million on Toney?
I think Toney costs more than 50 million. I think he's going to cost at least like 70 million or something like that. Literally.
You reckon that much?
20 goals last season for Brentford. English striker. He's a top quality player. He's been banging them in for Brentford, for a while now. I can't see them expecting 50 million. I mean, they wanted 40 for David Raya with 1 year left in his deal.
Okay, so 60 million then. Let's say it's 60.
I reckon 65, 70, something like that.
Let's say it's 60.
If it is 60, 40 for Toney, 60 for Toney or 40 for Orban, but you have to wait till January for Toney. That means, but then you can play Son there. I'm going. I don't know, man. It's a hard one because I really like both of them. I think both of them are top talents, and I would say that I wouldn't mind either, to be honest. I won't say like, yeah, I'll prefer this one or prefer that one. I'd be happy with either. What
I
about
would
you?
I'll just probably side with Orban for now. I think it's probably the deal that
Would love
makes more
you.
sense. Huh?
Levy would love you.
Of course. As much I think Tony is probably a better replacement for the short term. I think long term, Orban could be even much better. And I think it could be an opportunity not worth passing up right now.
I think Toney would absolutely bang in the number 9 in the Postecoglou system. I think he'd be insane, score loads of goals. I mean, he scored 20 for Brentford last season. I can see him getting at least 25, 26 in a Spurs team. I really can. But let's move on. Let's talk about Eberechi Eze. Ellie Gold saying that Spurs do really like Eberechi Eze, and the player is also represented by CAA Base, who is Postecoglou's agent, Maddison's agent, an agency who we do a lot of business with. Obviously, we've spoken about him a lot. We both really like him as a player. And I think, like, as much as you were saying last week how it doesn't make sense, I actually think it can make sense because you're looking at Spurs wanting to bring in another central midfielder with good technical ability. He matches that, and he's also versatile. Who I know he hasn't done a lot in the past, but he can play back up to Kulusevski on the right hand side, and potentially be versatile to play back up on the left hand side as well. So I think he's a player that can fit into many different holes in the squad.
Yeah, but it's going to look. I love Eze. I think he's an absolute star, and I would have considered him instead of Maddison potentially if we would have got. But I just think if we're gonna sign him, right, you have to realize if Palace sell him, they're gonna get relegated. They've got. I know they won today, but I'm looking at their team. He is literally a star of like so many levels above anyone else they got. So they really, really cannot afford to sell him. So if we're signing him, I think you're talking more than what we'd have to pay for Toney. I think you're talking 80 million. I think you're talking a massive fee. And are you really paying a massive fee like for Eze to play him back up right wing and back up left wing? No chance. And then say, okay, where's he going to get regular minutes? I mean, he could potentially start on the left, but you've got Son there. I don't think.
Well, what about a midfield of Bissouma, Maddison, and Eze as a middle three?
I don't know. I mean, on paper it sounds brilliant, but we've got Lo Celso there as well right now. Like, why would we need to drop 80 million for Eze? Like, I mean, he's great, but is it necessary? That's all I'm saying. I don't think I don't know if it's a position where we need to drop 80 million on. Like, if you're looking at 80 million where we can spend it, why would we spend it on a creative mid?
Yeah, it's true for that money. For that money, it's true. But I do think like he could supplement the squad really well.
I love him. Look, bring him in. I would absolutely love to bring him in. I just don't see it being necessary. But I'd love to, like, if you're telling me we'll sign Eze for 80 and then Orban and another centre back as well, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Like, screw it. I think it massively improves our squad. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, look, it is unrealistic in from what you're saying, but I'm just saying that in terms of how he fits in the squad, I think he fits in really well, and I think he would get a lot of minutes, whether it be from the right, the left, or from the central areas.
Yeah, I think he would. I'm not saying he wouldn't play. Of course, he would play, but like we've just signed Maddison for 40 million. You know what I mean?
No, I'm agreeing with you that it's unrealistic. But I'm saying if we were to bring him in, he would fit in a lot of areas in the squad. Is what I'm saying.
I just don't think. I don't think Eze is. His best work is set in the centre. I think he's good on the wing. I don't. There's a reason though for me why Palace have stopped playing him there. As much as they've had Zaha and stuff, but I think they realise his best position is in midfield.
Yeah, but maybe that's in a Palace system. Maybe in an Ange system, it'll be completely different, and he would have other ideas of where he would see Eze fitting in. Like Palace and Spurs just play completely in a different way, completely.
Agreed. No, I'm not. Eze would be brilliant for us. I'm not saying he wouldn't. He would be absolutely brilliant. I'd love to bring him in. I just can't see the logic in dropping 80 million on Eze right now.
Mm. All right, let's move on to the last story of the update, and it's revolving Tanguy Ndombele. Santi Aouna says Fenerbahce and Galatasaray are pushing to sign Tanguy from Tottenham. Both have proposed around a 10 million euro fee, while Spurs want 20 million euros. However, Ndombele is not interested in going to Turkey, apparently.
Which is not a massive shock, to be honest, because he probably, he was at Napoli last season in this area. He's been around Europe. Why would he want to? He probably feels like he can go to a better team. Why would he settle for a Turkish team? Now, Tottenham would, because they're the only ones who are going to pay the money, and maybe they're the only ones who are willing right now to pay his wages because they want to improve the profile of their league. But from Tongi's point of view, he probably feels like he doesn't need to drop so low right now. And even if it means, staying at Tottenham and just rejecting that kind of offer, he's probably would rather put his eggs in that basket than going over to Turkey.
Yeah, it's a shame, to be honest, because still we can't shift these players. And there were rumors. Paul O'Keefe was saying at the beginning of the window, players are going to have their contracts ripped up and stuff. Do you think if we can't shift him by maybe the last week of the window, that you might see that with Ndombele?
No, I don't think we're going to rip up his contract.
So where do you see him fitting in?
Sorry?
Where do you see him fitting in then?
Look,
we need to get rid of players. Like some players might need to get their players ripped up because we just don't have space for them in the squad, in the numbers.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the numbers. By the end of the window, if we need to sell, we need to get. I think he could be an option as a number 8 if he can somehow get up to speed. It depends if how many other players we can get out, like if Højbjerg leaves and stuff like that. But if there's no other option on the table, obviously, look, if you're saying that he wouldn't even make the squad at that point, then maybe. But if he's still going to be put in the Premier League squad, I don't see us ripping up his contract.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I can't really see him in the Premier League squad. We're so overloaded with midfield. Even if Højbjerg goes, we're overloaded in midfield. Skip, Sarr, Lo Celso, Maddison, Bentancur, Bissouma. That's 6 already. And then you're going to add Ndombele for a 7th midfielder.
Yeah, but Bentancur's out for a while, isn't he?
Yeah, Bentancur's out for a couple of months.
Sarr and Skip are young players.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get guaranteed any sort of game time at all. He's going to have to fight for his place, 100%. But, it's possible.
I just can't see it. And I don't even know if I put Lo Celso in the play.
Lo Celso, yeah.
Did I say Lo Celso, yeah? So, I mean, that's 6 midfielders for a spot of 3 throughout the season. I just can't see Ndombele seeing any minutes whatsoever. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Still 3 weeks left to go of the transfer window. So plenty of time for a lot of things to happen. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. I want to know your opinions on the new captain, which is Heung-min Son. But thank you everyone for joining today. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.